It's a minute to the top of the hour. This is the AM show. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. Thank you so much for staying on. This morning, we're going to have a conversation about the Cedi-dollar relationship, what exactly is happening, what's accounting for what we are seeing now, and also pick the concerns and reactions of experts to issues surrounding the sharp appreciation. Is that problematic? Well, my colleague Isaac Kofi, data analyst here at JoyNews, and Seram Kawo, senior lecturer at UCC School of Business, will be helping us do that. Let me start with you, Isaac Kofi, because he's going to set the tone for that conversation with Seram. Isaac, good morning to you.
Morning, Bernice.
Yeah, great to have you here once again. So this morning we have an agenda, right, which is to try to help all of us understand why we're seeing the Cedi appreciate the way it's doing, especially in this time of the year, and what exactly the trend has been over time.
Well, it's good to start with on the note that we actually began the year with $1 trading for some 6 cedis and 10 pesos. And before July, I think July, August, we saw the Cedi or the dollar rising from, the 6 cedis to 15 cedis, 80 pesos. Then in December, we are seeing some good news for the dollar, the Cedi actually. We've seen some sharp appreciation where between January and November, the Cedi lost about 54% of its value to the dollar. But just in less than 22 days or 23 days, the Cedi has gained more than 50% of its value that it lost to the dollar, so a regain for the Cedi. And so before we began, December, first the dollar was trading for 14 cedis, 30 pesos. Then we saw it, it's declining to 14 cedis, 13 pesos, and to 14 cedis, 5 pesos. And then we've seen the decline continue now to 9 cedis and some 34 pesos on the average. If you go to the interbank, markets, BOG is still quoting 8 cedis for both buying and selling. But if you look at, the commercial rates, if you go to those who are actually the Forex bureaus and also some of the markets we've been tracking on the internet, especially Bloomberg, you can see on average the dollar is trading for 9 cedis, 34 pesos. Before we even came to the studio, the Cedi has gained some value again against the dollar and has now dropped from the 9 cedis, 34 pesos to 9 cedis, 24 pesos. And so that's some good news for the Cedi Bernice.
Right, interesting, Kofi, and it's important that we mention, when the Bank of Ghana puts out the rates there, we all see it on social media, we publish it online, but there are the realities, if I may put it that way, of what you really get when you go to do business with the Forex Bureau or go to the bank to transact business. Let me now bring in Seram Kawo. Kofi J is still standing by with more for us, but just on this call, let me just find out from him his quick thoughts. Good morning to you, Mr. Kawo. Thank you for joining the program.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So, like Kofi has mentioned, we've seen the Cedi perform so well against the dollar in this month. There are those who say that, look, don't be too excited. This is because the dollar itself is struggling on the world market, and so it would naturally translate into how the Cedi performs against it. But there are those who say that, no, there are real policies, policy decisions that have been made that are affecting the Cedi's performance. For you, what do you think is the main driver of the Cedi's performance against the dollar?
Okay. We have multiple factors that are affecting the performance of the Cedi, as we see in the market. The dollar struggling in the international market is one factor, but then there are policies that have been implemented by the government, and these policies are also driving the rate as we see it appreciating over time now. We see government trying to ensure that they clamp down on the black market, where they do not allow, they are arresting people, and once they are arresting them, the black market is also not functioning as they used to be. We see government trying to ensure that the dollar is supplied to essential commodity importers. And so some of these things are also affecting the rate. We also noticed that in the past, the importers would need to import their goods ahead of the festive seasons. And so these imports have been done during that particular time. So there was a high demand for the dollar. So we have it getting to the 15 cedis as we have at the time. And so this during this particular time, there is no much import that we're going to have because the importers or the traders had already purchased their goods in the market. And for that matter, we have this particular situation. We also have the government coming out to say that, well, they're going to buy gold from the local market. So instead of these people sending the gold outside, they are buying it at the rate that they will agree with. And all these factors come to play a role. Of course, the activities of the speculators have dwindled down when we heard the president talking about money doesn't like noise. And so the speculation, the fear, and all those things have gone down. We then have the IMF coming in to have a staff level agreement with the government where we have the hope that eventually we're going to land the extended credit agreement with $3 billion coming from the IMF and the World Bank and other agencies. We also hear of the debt exchange, we hear of the debt servicing suspension and all those things. These are things that are driving the market as we see today.
Interesting, but which of these do you think is the main driver?
When you look at the main driver for me is the IMF staff level agreements that we have. That will be the main driver of the currency coming down. Once the IMF comes in, it gives us some amount of policy credibility, a situation which will also tell us that Ghana will not be doing things their own way, but they will have the experts with the IMF trying to correct government in the things that they do over time.
Right, I'll have you hold on here for us, Mr. Cowell. Back to my colleague in studio, Kofi Ajay. He has more data to share with us. So, Kofi, what you're about to do next is run us through what the trajectory or trend has been from 2019 to 2022.
Yeah, so actually I'm looking at pre-COVID, post-COVID, and actually during COVID, what has the depreciation of the cedi or the exchange rates been like. So if you look at 2019, so this is actually 2019, 2020, we have 2021 in this region, and then also 2022. So look at how the cedi actually depreciated in 2022. If you compare this, graphs or the charts to what we saw in 2019 and 2021, as there's a sharp difference between what we saw in this period and what we are currently seeing. So in 2019, by December, the cedi has actually depreciated by, cumulatively 12.9%. That was for the entire year. And in 2020, the entire year, the cedi actually depreciated by just 3.9%. And in 2021, something good really happened. The cedi also depreciated by some, 4.1%. But if you compare all these 12%, 3%, 4%, to what we currently have in 2022, by the end of November, the cedi had lost, 54.2% of its value. Mr. Carr was actually looking at, the Bank of Ghana bringing in some measures and all that, but I'm also looking at it from the external, shocks or factors. So to me, the main driver of this whole exchange rate or the sharp increase or the sharp appreciation of the cedis as a result of what the U.S. government is doing or the Fed is doing. So we have what we call the monetary policy rates. Remember that beginning of the year where every country was struggling with inflation because of this, Russia-Ukraine tension and also COVID-19. So U.S. had their inflation actually moving to somewhere around, 9%, and they really didn't like it. So what they had to do was to, try and do what we call monetary policy tightening. And in monetary policy tightening, you believe that the current inflation you have as a country is being driven by, more money chasing less goods. So what US did was that they introduced the monetary policy tightening to actually absorb the dollars available from the system. And you know, as a country, we don't print dollars, and so we depend on what US will supply for us to also feed our domestic market. And so they were actually mopping up the dollars from the system, and it affected everybody. You know, investors were investing their, their assets or everything in dollars because it became a store of value. But currently, inflation is down in the US, and investors are now afraid that the US will do something we call, the quantitative easing. And if there's quantitative easing, it simply means that we're going to have more dollars available in the system. And if you have your money in dollars, it means you're going to lose because the value will drop. And as a result, a lot of people are now changing the dollars they have into currencies they feel that is safe at the moment. So you have in Ghana people changing from dollars to cedis, from euro to cedis, and also from pound to cedi. And currency is just like any commodity. And so it's affected by the forces of demand and supply. So, supply of every currency is somewhat fixed in a certain period. So, for instance, if you look at the cedi, the supply is fixed for a certain period. So you have demand artificially increasing. And when you have demand increasing and supply is fixed, you virtually have the price of that, currency going up. And another factor probably we can also look at is, if you look at this from the international market, crude prices are also dropping. You have refined crude also dropping. As a country, we spend on average close to $4 billion every year to import crude into this country. So we have, the price of crude per barrel dropping from some $100 dollars per barrel to now, I think, somewhere around 75 million. And it's actually giving importers some, breathing space, and it's actually putting less pressure on the dollar compared to what we saw in August and then July at the beginning of the year.
Great, Kofi. Let me go back to Mr. Kawo, Senior Lecturer at the UCC School of Business. There are those who suggest that the sharp appreciation of the cedi is very dangerous for any currency. I don't know what you make of that. We saw a sharp decline, but is there anything to worry about in terms of how quickly our cedi is appreciated against the US dollar?
Okay. If you look at the decline, the depreciation, it was also very sharp. And at a point in time, we were having depreciation occurring almost every day or some few hours that we have. So when it is also coming up, it means that the managers have put in those measures to ensure that we get it right. And so if the currency is appreciating, there are people who are going to look at it from two different points. There are gainers, there are losers. And so for those who import things into the country, they are actually going to gain, because once the value of the cedi appreciates over time, they're going to buy things at a lower price. And once they bring it in, those things are going to be cheaper. Those who are producing within the country are not going to be very happy. They're not going to be very happy because at the end of the day, their commodities are going to be more expensive than those that they bring in. And so we look at these two dynamics. For me, when the value of the currency appreciates, it means a good news for us, because our debt portfolio will also decrease over time. And once we mostly depend on imports into our country, that appreciation is a good news for a country.
Interesting. So, I mean, what should we be looking forward to? We've established that this could largely be driven by some elements within our control, outside our control. I say that because you suggest that the main driver is the staff level agreement we reached with the IMF. Government is hoping to reach board level agreement by the first quarter of next year. We are seeing what is happening to the debt exchange program. The organized labor is adamant on government touching pension funds for that debt exchange program. We are likely to see a stall. Also, Kofi Adjei alluded to what's happening in the US itself with regards to its policy rates and how it's affecting its performance around the world. So these things are not really within our control per se. So should we be treading cautiously, especially when it comes to our excitement around the cedi's performance?
Yeah, you rightly put it. We need to tread cautiously. And these external factors that we see, and I agree with your colleague that talked about the monetary policy tightening and loosening in the market, just like the Bank of Ghana is also doing in our country, Ghana. But then these external factors that are affecting the performance of the cedi, that is where the IMF comes in. And so once the IMF comes in, the World Bank, IMF, other bilateral countries, they are all going to work together so that the price is stable in the future. But whatever that we are trying to do now, we make sure that we continue to do it. We abide by the agreement that we're going to have with the IMF, and they will also have to ensure that expenditure of the government is not done unnecessarily. We heard of some of the major policies of government being reviewed led by World Bank being reviewed. And so the free SHS policy, for instance, we've been calling for a review of the policy where the private individuals can also come in to help. Parents are ready to give some amount of money for that particular one. So when those things are done, and then the expenditure of government is reduced to a particular level, we will see all these things working out for us.
Interesting. Kofi has more to share with us.
Well, I wanted to focus on the external debt restructuring, why it is important to this whole exchange discussion. And so if you look at Ghana as a country, 2023, which is next year, look at our budget, we are hoping to spend some 21 billion Ghana cedis on payments on our external debt. And if you convert it to cedi, if I should use Bank of Ghana's rates, which is around 8 cedis, this is about $2.4 billion. So it means in 2023, we are hoping to pay $2.4 billion to settle interest on all our external loans.
And that is converting it at the current rate.
Absolutely.
Given by the Bank of Ghana.
Exactly. So it means that if IMF is giving you 3 billion and next year you are supposed to use 2.4 billion to settle your debt, it means you do not have that fiscal space to actually do the expenditure or to actually invest in certain areas that are productive areas. It means every money you get as a country, you are using it to pay your debt. So IMF will make sure that you restructure your debt so that you have this fiscal space to make sure you use the money they give you for productive use. And so they will not agree. That's why there's a condition that if your debt levels are unsustainable, you have to go ahead to do a restructuring. So we are doing this restructuring to make sure that as a country, we have the fiscal space to accommodate the 3 billion IMF money that we actually expecting. And so as a country, for instance, we spend 1.7 billion every year to pay interest. If you add, principal payments and charges, close to $2.4 billion every year. So $2.4 billion, we can't afford to do that going forward next year, because if you look at balance of payments, the finance minister gave an update, it's somewhere around $10 billion. And we need foreign liquidity, dollars, to make sure that we close this gap to give the economy the kind of breathing space it needs to accommodate this IMF deal. That is why the debt exchange program has really, really become very important as a country, because if you look at our Eurobond, outstanding Eurobond is somewhere around $13.4 billion. $13.4 billion, you are supposed to settle in the next 10 years, pay close to $7.8 billion. And even with that, about 80% or 43% of that money is supposed to be paid in the next 5 years. And we can't afford to do that. So we need the IMF for supervision and also give us the kind of liquidity that we need to make sure that we do not put a lot of pressure on our external, reserve as a country.
Right. Let me introduce Dr. Alex Akpabli. He's Vice President of the Ghana Association of Forest Bureaus. Great to have you here, sir. Thanks for joining the program. Hello, Dr. Akpabli. Too bad we lost him there. I was just going to take his thoughts on what's happening with the cedi-dollar relationship and what he believes could be the reason for that. But Kofi, while we work on Doc's line, just yesterday and the day before, we saw a decline in the performance of the cedi. This morning, it's back What exactly is happening there?
Well, the exchange rate has been moving like a pendulum. I think in the past, 5 days, we see the dollar will rise, fall again, will rise and fall again, but it has never actually crossed, 9 cedi 50 pesos. If you look at what we actually observe on some credible currency portals like Bloomberg, it's always below the 10 cedis. But the dollar is fighting back. In fact, there are people now moving their monies from cryptocurrencies and they feel they have to buy dollars now. There are people who also feel that this is the time they have to take advantage and like investors, save their assets in terms of dollars because they see it as a store of value. But just like I was saying, if you look at the monetary policy tightening, we do not know when, the Fed or the US government will slow down. They're actually slowing down, but we do not know the period, how long they will go in this kind of slowing down that they're actually carrying out. But the fear is that if they keep slowing down and if they keep, making monies available in the system, then it means the dollar is going to lose value because it's just like any other thing, just like demand and supply.
Right.
And now the Cedi has become the hot chick in terms of, if you go to the currency markets, for instance, the Cedi is the hot chick because everybody's changing from dollars to Cedis, from pound to Cedis, and then also from euro to Cedis. So fixed supply, but everybody's running after it. And people have come in, for the festive
Christmas.
Exactly. They are remitting. They will need to convert the dollars to cedis to make sure that they spend here. And that's helping us. But we're hoping that we are able to consolidate and sustain this kind of appreciation we're seeing.
That's very important. I'm told we have Dr. Akpabli back on the line. He's Vice President of the Ghana Association of Forex Bureaus. Good morning to you, Doc.
Morning.
Right, great to have you here on the program. So we've been trying to understand what's happening on our market with regards to the Cedi's performance against the dollar. My colleague who analyzes data, Kofi Eje, has made a few suggestions. We've also heard from a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. But for you, who works with Forex bureaus, what is your understanding and appreciation of what exactly is driving the Cedi's performance against the dollar?
Well, thank you very much. From where I stand and the lens that I wear, can you hear me?
Yes, Doc, I can hear you.
So with the lens that I wear, what I can see is that there has been a sharp, appreciation of the Cedi. But I keep cautioning, for some of us who do this kind of talk, that we must be very careful because of what we say. In that, the Cedi appreciation and depreciation must solely lie on the domain of government and policy makers. The last time when I was speaking, I was saying that all what we need is just a stable currency, all right, so that business people, for some of us who are in the market, can plan, all right. There are some exogenous factors that causes both the appreciation and the depreciation, and that is not, we can only manage, because the exogenous factors, we can only manage. But those that fall within, I think that policymakers must do well to do everything possible that we have a stable currency that business people can plan. Okay? It is not a matter when you have a strong currency. For instance, our Cedi, when juxtaposed with the rate juxtaposed with that of Japan, you see that our Cedi is stronger than the Japanese yen. Our Cedi is stronger, almost this in the South African, rand. But those economies seem to be doing better than ours. Okay, so the issue rather, so what can we do to get a stable currency? Okay, what should we be doing to get a stable currency? I think that is the crux of the matter.
Yeah, so what are your suggestions? What should we be doing to get a stable currency?
I think that lies between the policymaker, maybe Bank of Ghana, those using this monetary policy, and the fiscal policy. All must have a purpose. Okay, this must be purpose-driven. That this is so. At the end of the day, we can measure. We can
Right.
measure our performance.
Oh,
You understand?
yes, Doc.
So if I tell you that this is what the government must be doing, they are technocrats, all right? These are technocrats that we have.
But you work within you work in an essential part of the market, and that's why I'm asking if you have any thoughts to share based on your experience and the work you do. But your response is fair. I'm on the Facebook page of the Bank of Ghana. An hour ago, it released the exchange rates, and I'm just going to go through it. For the USD, buying at 8.0050 CD, selling at 8.0130. For the pound, buying rather at 9.6916 and selling at 9.7029. For the euro, buying at 8.4992 CDs and selling at 8.5084. I'm doing this because there are many people who've gone to forex bureaus in the country. They've taken snapshots and they don't seem to tally with what the BOG publishes every day, or even if there is a difference, they think it's too much. What exactly is causing that?
So thank you very much for that. The Bank of Ghana rate is the interbank rate. That's the interbank rate.
Right.
And not necessarily what is happening in the open market.
Right.
You understand? That's the interbank rate.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come to the Forex Bureau, for instance, if you also go to our website, if you go to GAFORB, GAFORB.org, you see our rate, there. We are buying the dollar at 9 cedis and selling at 11, but these are indicative, all right? It guides, but be reminded that these rates are determined by demand and supply, okay? And sometimes, for the recent sharp appreciation has caused most of our members, they lost what we call exchange loss. They suffered exchange loss, okay? Meaning that they bought, they were having stock of, foreign currency, and with the sharp appreciation, they have to reduce the rate to be able to sell, to get their Cedi back. And so there was a lot of exchange loss suffered or experienced within the forex bureau industry. Okay? Mm-hmm. So now it appears that, people now knowing that the rate has come down, thinking that this is also the time to buy. As you already said, remember that the currencies or your CD has a function of what we call a store of value. It's a medium of exchange and as well as a store of value. And therefore, if your CD is losing value or let's say even appreciating, then whatever currency that you have, you may want to get a CD so that you can store, its value can be stored, so it will not depreciate. So that is the rational aspect, economic rational aspect of it, that you see people trying to exchange one currency to another because they don't want the currency that they hold, they don't want its value to lose.
Right.
You understand? So
Great.
that is what is happening in the market.
So
go ahead.
So sorry I had to cut in, Doc, but also just to add to what you're clarifying, there's also the concern about the difference between how much you're buying and how much you're selling it for. So with the BOG interbank rates, for example, we're seeing just a few pesos causing that difference. Let me just go back. So the dollar is being bought at 8.0050 and sold at 8.0130. That's very few pesos there. But you say, for example, that you're buying at 9 CDs and selling at 11. That's a clear 2 CDs difference. Why is that?
That's it. So, but you have forgotten that we pay rent, we pay salaries, we pay taxes, we pay other bills, AMA bills, so many taxes that we pay.
Right.
And if you're a business person like me, these rates are not just established, for it. We sit down, do a lot of calculation goes into it.
That's fair enough. I'm only saying this because of the reactions on social media and how people react to this. So it's good that you're clearing and clarifying that sometimes service charges and other things are put in computation of these rates. So for you as an association, clearly you are, and your business is also the focus point of all that is happening. Tell us how you suffer or what the pros and cons are for you with regards to the sharp depreciation and the sharp appreciation of the cedi. For business people, they say we can't plan. It's difficult for us to plan. But for you as Forex Bureau owners, what are the pros and cons for you?
Well, as for us, we buy and sell.
Yeah.
And because we are a regulated institution, we only play according to the rules of the game, whether it's a cedi appreciate or depreciate. What happened is that we put our margin, So as far as the depreciation and appreciation are concerned, in that regard, we don't suffer much. The only aspect is that maybe if you have you bought maybe dollars down and then there's a sharp appreciation, then you suffer this what I call the exchange loss, because you may want to sell it to make up to get your cedi back in order to buy more foreign currency again. And so you are forced, because of the sharp appreciation, you are forced to sell it at a lower price, that you bought. Okay, so that is the only adverse side. But otherwise, we conform or play, according to the rules of the game.
Rules of your game, right?
Yeah.
We are told this.
Hang on. When you come to the bureau, all you need is to bring your ID card, like your Ghana card, okay, and insist on your receipt. Okay. And then because you are selling to us, if you are coming to sell to us, we are buying from you. You must insist on your receipt. Okay, so that's it. And we don't, as far as business planning in terms of trading is concerned, we don't.
You're not affected much, right,
yeah.
Doc? We were told earlier this week that there was shortage of cedis in the system. Is that still the case?
Yes, yes. I think that when I think 3 months, not even 3, about 2 months ago, there was shortage. When there was a sharp appreciation happened, most of us locked our cedis into foreign currencies, and we were not having cedis to buy. But whether that is the same, what happened, the same thing happened in the bank, I can't tell. I'm speaking with the lens of what is happening in the Forex Bureau industry. Okay? So whether that happens within the banking industry, I cannot tell. But we, those who operate within the Forex bureaus, yes, because we locked up our money in foreign currency and nobody was buying. There was a short of cedi.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Dr. Alex Akpabli is Vice President of the Ghana Association of Forex Bureaus, giving us some clarity there and also responding to concerns about shortage of cedis in the system. Let me just quickly wrap up with you, Kofi Ajay, in studio. Kofi, so this is where we are. I mean, still hoping that things will get better, obviously, because we know what it is like when the dollar rises. Then we pay more for fuel, for crude, and then it translates into transport first, but trickle down to every other commodity. So you have been looking at the data. Does it look like this will last for long? What exactly should we be looking forward to?
Well, with IMF in the boat, we are likely to actually sustain this for a while because they're going to take care of our balance of payment for the next 3 years. We'll get some monies, we'll get some foreign liquidity relief. But I really want to comment on the shortage of cedi that the Forex Bureau said they were actually not finding cedi. It's not as if there were no cedis, but just like I was saying, if you were selling a dollar for 15 cedis and it's now, let's say, 12 cedis or 13 cedis. Someone comes to you and I say, Bernice, I have $300 or $100. I want to change at the rate of, let's say, 10 cedis. You are afraid, as you know, a trader, that what if I sell to this person, or what if I buy rather? What if I buy this person says, I have $100, I want to sell it to you. What if I buy at a rate of, let's say, 10 cedis, and the next moment it is, 9 cedis? It means I'll lose. So they weren't ready to lose because they were anticipating that the cedi was going to appreciate further. And so if you have dollars and you want to change to cedis, nobody wanted, because the dollar became, people were dumping the dollar for cedis.
Right.
Exactly. So it wasn't as if, cedi, there was a shortage of cedi. They just didn't want to change because they didn't want to lose. They were anticipating a loss. And as every rational economic agent, if you anticipate these things, you react in a positive manner. And that's what they were simply doing. But with the IMF in the boat, I actually see that, we can sustain this for a while in the coming years. Probably in 2023, things will be better than we saw in 2022, especially in the arena of the depreciation of the cedi and everything. Because if you look at this graph, for instance, and you compare what we have here in 2022 to all other years, this is actually an outlier. And the same thing, if you look at both appreciation and depreciation, there is some artificial elements in there. So for instance, this is December. Ordinarily, the cedi should depreciate by cumulatively some 13 or 14%, but we saw 54% as of November, and now we've seen it appreciating by more than 40%, and so it's back at the normal level, moving from 6 cedis 10 pesos to 9 cedis 40 pesos at the open market, and also 8 cedis and some few pesos at the interbank level provided by the Bank of Ghana.
Thank you so much, Kofi. It's been really exciting doing this with you. Kofi Ajay is my colleague here at JoyNews. He is our data analyst, and he's been taking us through the cedi's performance against the dollar from the beginning of this year till now. He's also been doing some comparative studies of what happened in 2019 till date. Well, water is life. It regulates your body temperature and keeps you alive and kicking. Awake is premium purified water, treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all occasions. 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags. 750 ml for the heavy drinkers, and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. We've introduced our special 19-liter jar for offices and homes. Now, you just need to stay awake with Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Come on, grab a bottle of Awake Water and get quality hydration. Awake Purified Drinking Water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. It's produced by Casa Preco. For bulk purchase, please call 026-235-1251. This advert is FDA approved. Let me say thank you to my guest, Dr. Akpabli, who is with the Forex Bureaus Association as his vice president. We also had Mr. Seram Kowal, who is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Thank you, gentlemen, for helping me do this. And before we take a quick breather to come and get interactive with you, the Ghana Revenue Authority wishes to inform you that those who want to apply for a tax clearance certificate should do so via www.taxpayersportal.com or download the Ghana Taxpayers app on the Google Play Store or App Store. Applicants who visit our taxpayer service centers will be assisted by officers of the authority to apply. Applicants are also required to indicate the taxpayer identification number, that's TIN, of the institution or organization requesting the certificate so they can receive a copy. Applicants should take note and be guided accordingly. Kindly contact GRS toll-free 0800 900 110 or via these WhatsApp numbers 055 299 0000 or 020 063 1664. So we'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we get interactive with you. Do stay.